Week 7 in the NFL is already upon us. I say it each and every week, I feel like, but you wait all summer, you wait all spring for the NFL to come in, and once it gets here, it goes quick. And tonight, Thursday Night Football, when we're recording this, right as kickoff is happening, this is one of those gross games between the Broncos and the Saints that you would be clamoring for back in April on a Thursday night. So I'm sure that it's still going to do numbers. I'm sure the viewership is still going to be in the millions. But before we get started, Kev, on our Week 7 picks and preview, give me your quick hit on Broncos Saints tonight and who wins the game.
I'll go Broncos. Sean Payton returning to New Orleans. Maybe a little bit of revenge game for him there. So I'll go Broncos.
Yeah, I got Broncos as well. I think the defense is legit. The offense is hit or miss, it seems like, every week. But this is one of those games where if they just play simple football and try to keep it at 13-10 or something, I think that they come away with the win against the young Spencer Rattler. That was one of our better predictions last week, that he would get, no pun intended, but rattled against Todd Bowles' defense. And that was a wacky game. I think I saw the Saints had 27 points in the second quarter, but I don't think they scored in the other three and wound up getting blown out 51-27. But all right, we'll see tomorrow when the audio feed drops. But the Week 7 picks and preview of the NFL is here to recap Week 6 real quick. Average week for me, 8-9-1, 3-2 straight up, 2-2-1 against the spread, 2-3 on the over/under, 1-0 on my lock of the week, which was the Lions -3, 47-9, I think was the final out there. And 0-1 on my dog of the Panthers +6. They lose by more than 6 to the Falcons. And then 0-1 on my touchdown. James Conner did not get in the end zone. You did your part on the touchdown parlay. We'll try and hit it this week. But you had A.J. Brown last week, 1-0. 0-1 on your dog of the Jags +1.5. Texted you earlier, and I said, we really said last week it's a good idea to put money on the Jaguars and the Panthers. And look what that day come back to bite us. And you went 0-1 on your lock last week. Who was your lock last week?
My lock last week was Marvin Harrison over 56.5 yards, and he had 0 receptions.
There's nothing you can really do about that one for a concussion, but I guess that's the risk of doing the player prop. But an 11-6-1 overall week for you, I think your best week of the year. 5-0 straight up, 3-1-1 against the spread, and then 2-3 on your over-unders. All right, we push it forward into Week 7. I think one of the best slates of the season so far that we've had, and you're starting to see teams 5-6 games in, teams starting to get to their bye weeks now. We're starting to see the teams that kind of separate are beginning to separate from the rest of the pack. The teams that are looking like they're going to be cellar dwellers. Like Sunday morning, you have your last London game between the Patriots and Jags. Is that a contest there for the number one pick at the end of the year? Is that kind of the tiebreaker? It's looking like how those two team seasons are going. But then we got a game like Seahawks-Falcons. The Seahawks started out 3-0. What direction do they go in after losing their last three? Lions-Vikings. Lions with the dismantling of the Cowboys last week, and the Vikings undefeated come off the bye. Do they stay hot? Super Bowl rematch. So a lot of big-time games this week, and we'll hit all the best ones, the 5 games of the week. And we start on Sunday at the 1 o'clock slate on CBS. You have the 5-1 Texans traveling to Green Bay to play the 4-2 Packers. Packers 2.5-point favorite here at home. Over/under is 46.5.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Packers winning by a field goal, 24, Texans 21, so Packers -2.5, under 46.5. This one should be an awesome game, and it was honestly really difficult for me to pick this game. But the Packers are 8-2 against the spread in their last 10, and they looked awesome last week against the Cardinals. Jordan Love looks healthy, and he's playing like the guy we saw in the second half of the year last year. But on the other hand, the Texans are really, really good. I think getting Joe Mixon back last week was huge for the Texans. It takes some pressure off of Stroud in the defense. But the Texans have not played a ton of top-end talent, and when they did, they played the Vikings, and they got killed by them. There are also some analytic numbers that I don't completely understand, but they say that the Texans are not a top 5, top 10 team in the NFL, a little more middle of the pack. So I'm going to roll with the Packers in Lambeau here. I think Jordan Love looks really good thrown to his young weapons.
I'm going to go the opposite. I like the Texans on the road in this one. I think this is one of those kind of statement games. And with the Texans sitting here at 5-1 already, I don't think it'll be that big of a surprise. But if they go up to Green Bay, one of the teams that historically has one of the best home field advantages in the league, finds a way to win, that puts the league on notice, especially with the Chiefs playing the 49ers. If the 49ers find a way to win that game, Texans right there tied for first place in the AFC. I still think the Texans, they're a legit threat to win the AFC. They were my pick at the beginning of the year. And you were saying the Texans have benefited from playing some poor competition. I think you can look at it in the Packers have played some poor competition as well. Packers sit here at 4-2, but 4 wins come against the teams with a combined 7-15 record. And Jordan Love has also at least thrown 1 interception in all 4 games that he's played in this year. You can't do that, I think, against a much better Texans team that they've faced out of any squad they faced this year. I think the Eagles are probably the best other team that they played. You make an argument with the Vikings as well, sitting there undefeated. But against a team like the Texans, you have to take care of the ball. You can't make that many mistakes. You need every possession you can get. And we've seen Jordan Love now for over a year and a half, 2 years that basically is a full-time starting quarterback. He's been a bit of a turnover-prone quarterback. So that's something he's got to clean up to win these tight games. And I trust C.J. Stroud more to make some plays at the end of the game. So I think the Texans go into Lambeau, statement win here, start off Sunday afternoon. I'll go Texans 27, Packers 20. So Texans plus 2.5 and the over of 46.5. All right, we go down to Atlanta on Sunday at 1 as well with the 3-3 Seahawks that we talked about. Started out 3-0, since lost 3 straight. Playing the 4-2 Falcons, one of the more chaotic teams, I think, in the league so far. Have entertained a lot in their games. 1 o'clock on Fox. Falcons, a 3-point favorite, over under 49.5. Kev, do you like the Falcons to get this one done at home?
Yeah, I'm taking the Falcons 34-23. So they obviously cover the 3 and over 49.5. You kind of touched on it already. 2 teams that seem like they're headed in opposite directions. Seattle starting 3-0, starting out hot, then losing 3 straight. And the Falcons have rattled off 3 wins here, all against division opponents, which could be key in potentially a close division race towards the end of the year, especially with the Bucs. I think both of these teams are more middle of the road teams, and we're kind of seeing that this recently starting to level out, both 500 teams. But both teams are extremely volatile, and you never really know which team is going to show up for either of them. So I'll go with the team that I had more trust in to start the year and who, in my opinion, has the better quarterback, and that'll be the Falcons. The Seahawks defense has also been giving up 35 points per game in their last 3 losses, and the Falcons have a ton of weapons. As everyone knows, that's always a big talking point when talking about the Falcons. I know it doesn't always translate to points for the Falcons, but they have been averaging over 33 per game in their last 3. And then we like to talk about this sometimes as well. It's a West Coast team traveling east for a 1 p.m. start. I don't know how much that really means, but I'll go Falcons. I think Kirk is starting to look better and better as he's coming back from the Achilles last year.
Yeah, this game has the vibes and just the look of it as kind of like that crazy game of the day that we could see some wild stuff happening in the witching hour. Maybe like the Seahawks get up early, Kirk Cousins leads like a 21-point comeback, something like that. I just get that vibe from this game. I think it's a potential shootout down there on that fast track in Atlanta as well. Seahawks are coming off some extra rest. I think that might help a little bit with that traveling west to east in there as well. It's not like they had to fly back from the East Coast, fly back to the East Coast, on a short week, something like that. They've had a plenty of rest now, so I think that's like kind of minimizes that advantage a little bit. But beat down against the 49ers a couple weeks ago, they really took care of them, and the Falcons coming off a beat down against the Panthers. So you said it earlier, I think 2 teams kind of going in opposite directions. It's a big opportunity for the Seahawks here to get back on track. I think it's like the fork in the road game, though. If you go down to Atlanta, you get blown out, things might start to sour. The fan base is probably not liking what they've seen out of Geno recently. And the Falcons, they win. They're sitting there at 5-2, and people are talking about them as one of, if not the best team in the NFC potentially. In two of the Seahawks' 3 losses, though, Geno Smith has thrown the ball over 50 times. I think, that's a major losing recipe for that Seattle team. I think they need to be as balanced as they can be with him. And then you were saying it too. Kirk is looking more and more comfortable by the week. And I want to give Drake London Drake London a shout out. He's emerging into one of the best receivers in the league, and don't feel like he's been getting the credit for it. And I think Kirk Cousins is getting the most out of him. He's got 38 catches for 428 yards and 4 touchdowns already this year. A couple weeks ago against the Bucs, 12 for 150 and a touchdown. He had 6 for 74 and a touchdown against the Panthers last week. He's becoming a reliable 5 catches, 50-plus yards, and a touchdown at least type of guy each week. So look at Drake London as one of the best receivers maybe in the league by the end of the year. And the rushing duo of Bijan and Algier is cooking. I think this one is going to be a fun one, and I think the Falcons find a way to get it done, though, at home. Kirk Cousins maybe leads like a game-winning drive, as I said. I'll go Falcons 34, Seahawks 27, Falcons -3, and the over of 49.5, one of my favorite plays there of the week. All right, third game, NFC North. The 4-1 Lions at the 5-0 Vikings, a 1 o'clock kick on Fox. Vikings 2-point favorite here at home, over under 50.5. Vikings coming off the bye, and the Lions coming off that drubbing of the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'll go Lions to continue their hot streak, winning 28-24. So they cover the 2 over 50.5. Another fantastic game on the slate. I think you got to go Lions with how well they're playing. But then speaking of how well a team's playing, the Vikings haven't lost this year and are coming off a bye. Aiden Hutchinson's injury is obviously a massive loss for the Lions defense that doesn't have a ton of depth behind him. He had 7.5 sacks this year, which is equal to the total for the rest of the team. So other players are going to have to step up there. I know they might be looking to make a trade at the trade deadline, but that obviously didn't happen this week. But then the offensive side of the ball is the real talking point with the Lions. They look like the best offense in the league along with the Ravens. They can beat you in so many different ways. Gibbs and Montgomery can run around and through you, and then Goff in play action, he can hit St. Brown or Williams. And then they also just have a ton of trick plays, as we saw last week. And I don't think Dan Campbell or Ben Johnson are scared to call them in big spots, so that wouldn't surprise me if it's a close game, if they pull something out like that. This, to me, is more about how good the Lions look. I think the Vikings are still a very, very good team, and I expect them to play well. I think Sam Darnold should not have a ton of pressure on him in his face this week. I think he can find his offense, but I don't know if it will be enough to match the Lions. I'll take the bet and say no.
To me, it's very disrespectful to have the Detroit Lions as a dog in this spot. They're coming off an absolute beatdown of the Cowboys, but that might say more about the Cowboys and their struggles and potential struggles down the line than the Lions. But if I still had to pick a team right this second to at least win the NFC, I'm definitely going with Detroit. Worried about the loss of Hutchinson, obviously, going forward and impacting their overall ceiling. That's a huge miss, especially in those close games. He's that guy you can kind of turn loose and count on making a big play for you. But if it's one team that could afford an injury, I think, to a defender, I think it's Detroit, because I think the offense is simply that good. Like, if they need to win a game 49-47 in the playoffs, which most likely isn't happening, but if they need to win a game like that and they need to basically score on every possession, I would pick the Lions to do that over any offense in the league. I think they can beat you in each and every way. They've shown it with the deep ball, underneath, creative trick plays, running the ball. They're as balanced as you can get, and I think as good of a team in the entire league. And we talk about it every week that no matter what, if the Lions are part of the games of the week, I'm betting them against the spread. Like, that's how good they've been and how reliable. Dan Campbell's covering at about 70% now during his time as the head coach. I think the Vikings are still like a legit squad. I think they're going to be a team we see in the playoffs. But I do think a little bit of regression of Sam Darnold is inevitable. And I think it could come this week against the Lions, who I think are just roaring with confidence right now and playing like the best overall team in the league. So I'm going to go with the Lions to show everyone who the king of the NFC North is. And that's them in Detroit, 27-20 Lions. So Lions +2 in the under of 50.5. All right, we go to the 425 window now for a Super Bowl rematch from last year. The Niners looking to get their revenge as they host the Chiefs. Niners at 3-3, Chiefs at 5-0. 425 kick on Fox. Niners a 1-point favorite, over under 46.5. Vegas still has not learned their lesson with making Patrick Mahomes an underdog versus 49ers.
Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs to win outright here, just like in the Super Bowl. Chiefs 23, Niners 21, so Chiefs +1, under 46.5. Mahomes is 4-0 in his career against San Fran with 2 Super Bowl wins, and we do keep talking about how the Chiefs don't look as dominant as we've been accustomed to when Mahomes first got there. And it's true, but they're still 5-0 and coming off of a bye. And I think Mahomes is fine taking underneath throws if it's leading to W's, which it is. And then the Niners have not been as reliable this year, and their defense has not been as good as we thought it would coming into the season. So I'll take the Chiefs to win another close one-score game.
Yeah, I just don't see myself ever picking against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs when he's an underdog. I'll keep it real simple. Mahomes as an underdog, Andy Reid off a bye, Chiefs win. Next question. We go Chiefs 27, Niners 23, Chiefs +1 over 46.5. All right, we go to our final game of the week on Monday night. I think this is going to be an awesome one. Another Monday night doubleheader this week. One game, though, I think it's the second game, Chargers, Cardinals. You can only watch on ESPN+, so I'm sure that'll get a lot of complaints. But looking forward to this one on Monday. My Buccaneers, I think, other than the Eagles, I got to claim the Bucs and the Lions just because I feel like I'm always hyping up the Bucs. I'm always betting on the Lions. But the 4-2 Bucs host the 4-2 Ravens, who have resurfaced after that 0-2 start and are looking pretty dominant again. 8:15 kick on ESPN. As I said, Bucs at home. Ravens a 4-point favorite here on the road. Over under is 50.5. Kev, think the Bucs can pull off this upset?
I'm going no. I'm going Ravens 30, Bucs 24. So Ravens do end up covering the 4 over 50.5. The Bucs have really impressed this year. They had the same 4-2 record as the Ravens, but there is a reason that the Ravens are 4-point favorites on the road. They're in a class of their own in the NFL with probably about 2 other teams, maybe the Lions, Texans, or the Chiefs. So about 3-4 teams there at the top of it. They're definitely in it, and the Bucs just aren't. The Bucs offense should be able to have some success against a Ravens defense that has not been as great as hoped this year. But the trouble for the Bucs is the Ravens offense. They can just steamroll you. And they're currently converting over 51% of their third downs, which is best in the NFL. The Ravens have been known to have some head-scratcher games with Lamar, so I could definitely see it happening here with a sneaky Bucs team, and the Bucs do end up winning. But I'll take my chances on the Ravens coming out and looking like one of the best teams in the league.
Can the Bucs get some more national love? I kind of just want to start off my segment with this. Why can't they compete at the top of the NFC? I think Baker, when you look at the quarterbacks in the NFC, excuse me if I'm forgetting anyone, but like Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield might be the two playing best in the league right now in the NFC. I mean, I think definitely above Jalen, probably above Purdy. Anyone that I'm forgetting? Dak hasn't had a great year. I mean, Jordan Love has missed some games. Darnold has played well, but like, it's not like it's murderer's row there at the top. I mean, why not the Bucs? All the weapons that they have. Todd Bowles is one of the more creative defensive minds in the entire league, and the playmakers of Evans, Godwin, and Bucky Irving's looking like a potential stud running back. Put some respect on the Bucs name. I don't know if they'll be able to get this win at home, but it's a team that takes care of business against the teams that they should, and they're probably going to wind up winning 11 to 12 games, I think, by season's end. So just keep an eye on the Bucs. I think that there's certainly something there with them. But you can't bet against Lamar Jackson when he plays NFC teams. Lamar is now 22-1 when playing against teams in the NFC. Just an insane stat. And as I said, I think the Bucs are good. I think they're good enough to cover the 4 in this, potentially win it at home. But I'm going to ride with the data here and Lamar's just overall dominance of NFC teams. I think this is a really fun game, an explosive game, a lot of points. But I'm going to go Ravens 31, Bucs 28, so Bucs +4 and over 50.5. All right, we go to the last 3 picks of the day, our dog of the day, our lock of the week, and then our anytime TD picks to parlay it. Dog of the day, I'll go start us off. Lions +2 against the Vikings. We talked about it, but Dan Campbell now as the coach of the Lions, covering about 70% of his games. They're just an ATS money printer at this point. If you see him, I feel like you got to just bet them blind. And I think that they win this game outright against the Vikings. I think we talked about it, but the Lions are the best team in the NFC in my eyes right now.
Yeah, so my dog of the day, I'm also going with one we talked about before, Chiefs +1 versus the Niners. We're -102 on the money line. I'm taking them for all the reasons we talked about. Mahomes, Reed, underdogs coming off a bye, and they just continue to win. Nothing new.
Okay, and then our lock of the week. I dug deep for this one. I went a little outside the box. I don't really love the overall board this week. I was tempted to make double down on the lines and make that my lock of the week. But I'm going Philadelphia Eagles first drive punt plus 115 as my lock of the week. I think we've heard it all year, every broadcast. The Eagles are the only team that has no points in the first quarter. The scripted plays have just been terrible. I could see it being 3 quick, easy throws that are 3 and out right there, and the Eagles punt. So lock of the week, Eagles first drive punt plus 115. Hopefully I mush them on this one.
Yeah, my lock of the week, I'm going Titans +9 versus the Bills, or -105. The Bills are coming off a little bit of a short week here, and the Titans defense is actually very good. I think they're just good enough to keep it under 9. I don't expect them to win, but under 9 for the Titans versus Bills.
All right, and our last pick, our anytime touchdown pick, and parlay it together. I've got Kareem Hunt, running back for the Chiefs, -115 against the 49ers. They've been feeding him since he got there. They eased him in a little bit that first game against the Chargers, but still had 14 carries. He had 27 carries last week against the Saints and a touchdown. Anything around the goal line really is his, and he's got 4 catches in 2 games too. He's a guy that we've seen over his career. He's a pretty good receiving back, so he could potentially get in that way as well. I'll take my chances with a running back there, getting more red zone touches most likely than a receiver. And it seems like the Chiefs have really dedicated it and committed to running the ball with Kareem Hunt since he got back there. And I always think that's so weird how, that guy's just sitting there on the street without a job and injury happens and here we go. Let's bring him out and he starts playing that well. But Kareem Hunt -115 for my anytime touchdown.
Yeah, my anytime touchdown, I'm going Davante Adams +155 against the Steelers, kind of following the same method I took last week with A.J. Brown returning for Jalen Hurts and Jalen looking for him. Aaron Rodgers is getting Davante Adams back after not having him for a couple of years now. I think Aaron's going to be looking for him, and it's going to result in a touchdown.
And you parlay those 2 picks together, +397. All right, that'll do it for week 7 here in the NFL. The Broncos take an early 3-0 lead. It's looking like that's going to shape up to be an exciting game. But as always, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and we'll talk next week.